there?
So what the courts will assign you. So you'll have certain days where maybe you go to an arraignment, you stay in arraignment court, and you could pick up 8 or 9 cases of people who get arrested the night before. You're their lawyer, right? So I wound up working in Manhattan for probably 5 years doing assigned counsel work. These were people who had no money. Some of them were homeless. Some of them had long criminal records. So it was a tough. It's
I
a
was about to
tough.
say tough.
It's a tough way to make a buck. But I did enjoy it, and I felt like I helped people then as well. And because I was a bigger guy, there's not that many guys our size, walking around in a suit in a courthouse as a lawyer. So because of that, a lot of the judges would assign me specifically for people who had a problem with their previous lawyer.
Gotcha. So they wouldn't push you around.
Yeah. So that I wouldn't be intimidated. So, if you had an issue, or if it was like a retread kind of, defendant, I would walk into a courtroom and the judge would go, Mr. Collins, step up. So wonderful to see you. I have an assignment for you. His name is, Mr. Smith. And he attacked his last 2 lawyers, and he's very, very angry. He's very angry, and he's in the back, and he's waiting to talk to you. I'm sure you're going to get along well with him. His case is on for trial next week, so please be ready.
It's a quadruple homicide.
Right, basically, yes.
We left him in the kitchen. He has knives. That he won't
Yeah. So yes, he stabbed his last lawyer at the counsel table. But so don't get too close to him. But
we left him a cheese knife.
But shake his hand. Be polite.
Very, very angry man. Very angry. So I had a bunch of those. I remember getting one where I was assigned on a case where judge sends me into the back to meet with my new client who had attacked and frightened all of his previous lawyers.
Nice.
And so he's in, I don't know if you've ever, hopefully you've never been in, but if you
I've
have,
never, no.
So behind courtrooms, there's usually a holding, behind a criminal courtroom, there's a holding pen. So if somebody's incarcerated, they're put in that pen until they're brought out into the courtroom. So that little pen is basically like a cage. It's bars, and so the guy is on the other side of the bars, and you as a lawyer are standing. So on the other side was Mr. Williams, and he's sitting on a little bench in there. And I say, Mr. Williams, please step up. I want to talk to you. My name is Rick Collins, and I'm an attorney, and I've been assigned to represent you, and we're going to work together on your case. And he comes up, and he's standing, as close as you and I are.
He's through the bars.
Through the bars. But the bars are certainly,
There's a gap.
Maybe 6 inches apart, something like that, 5 inches apart. So, I mean, certainly you could get your hand through the bars, So I said, listen, I don't know what happened between you and your last lawyer. That has nothing to do with me. We're going to start fresh, okay? We're going to work together. We're going to figure out how to defend this case you're charged with. I start telling him what he's charged with and all this stuff. And he's looking at me, and I look on his paperwork, and he was actually, this is how long ago it was, he was actually a middleweight pro fighter who was an undercard on Mike Tyson fights back in the day.
Nice.
And he kind of, one thing led to another, drug use, whatever, cascaded down, spiral, got involved. He's charged now with a drug sale on a street in Harlem that went bad, and then he had a gun allegedly that he put under the car that became a robbery. So it's a cornucopia of bad shit.
Bad shit.
So
that maybe you should have stayed that night.
It's all bad. It's all bad. So, and the most serious charges would be the robbery and the drug sale. The gun is actually a lesser felony, but so that was the way it was all set up. So I'm talking to him, and he's looking very angry. And the more I talk, the angrier he's starting to look angrier and angrier. And so I ignore it, and I'm talking to him, and I start going through. Listen, your case is on for trial next week, okay? And you have certain rights at that trial. At that trial, you can choose to testify, but you don't have to testify. There's no obligation. You can remain silent, and they have to prove the case. And they have to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And as I'm going through all of these things, now he's starting to shake his head and move back and forth as he's looking at me.
I don't like that.
You know, and so again, and I'm ignoring it, and so now I'm talking about, you know, we're going to pick a jury together, and we can choose who the jurors are, and we get to challenge some of those jurors either for cause or for other reasons if we want to, and we have to pick 12 jurors, and those 12 jurors will decide, and we're going to decide together who they're going to be. Now he's shaking his head back and forth, and he's biting his lip.
Oh.
So the lip is being bitten, and now he's closer to the bars. So now we're literally within arm's reach on either side of the bars. And I'm wearing a tie. I got a suit and tie on, so
Pretty easy for him to wrap it around and
he
grab.
he could grab that tie with one hand, and he'd probably get 20 punches in before I'd even know what happened. You know, he's got skills. I think that if I was on the other side and it went to the ground, I outweighed him by a lot. And I think if I got him down on the ground,
That forearm strike would have been crazy.
I'd destroy him, you know? But in this standing here, I'm just dead meat.
Yeah.
So, but I'm ignoring it, and I'm going through it, and I'm talking about that you're presumed innocent, and unless and until they change that, even now, even at this moment, even on the moment that we pick the jury, you're still presumed innocent. That's what that's what you're allowed under the law. That's an important thing that we have within our system of
Innocent
justice.
until proven guilty.
And so at this point, he's now going really, it's almost like a mongoose. That's,
My man is
you know,
shadow boxing.
Yeah, he's almost shadow boxing with me. He's shaking his head. He's biting his lip. He's got crazy eyes looking at me. So I figured that this is not working. And I've got to represent this guy because there's no way the judge is going to let me off this case.
With no bars
Right.
between you.
Right, with no bars. So I just stopped talking. And I just stand there and I'm looking at him. So I start biting my lip. I start shaking my head. I start going back and forth. So now the two of us together are going back and forth. And he's looking at me like he wants to kill me. And I'm looking at him like I want to kill him. And I'm going back and forth. And he knows that I know that I'm close enough to him that he can grab me. And I'm moving closer to the bars. So he moves a little closer to the bars, and I move closer to the bars. And now we're so close, I can feel his breath on me as we're going back and forth. And this goes on for literally 90 seconds,
Yo,
where nobody says anything.
we need to find the security footage of this occurring and post it everywhere. And this is why you don't fuck with Rick Collins.
For 90 seconds, we just do this whole, you know, mongoose and cobra routine. And then finally, I stop. And I'm looking at him. And I go, now do you want to talk about this case? And he goes, yeah, let's do that. From that moment on, we got along great. It was wonderful. He came in the courtroom, sat next to him. We picked the jury together. You know, I cross-examined witnesses. I wound up getting him acquitted of the robbery, acquitted of the drug sale. He got a lesser offense, you know, at the end. And at the end, when he was sentenced, he gets the sentence. He actually goes to hug me in the court. I go, get out of here, you crazy man. He laughs, you know.
Get out of here, crazy.
You know, talk about like in the same way that the interviewer at the DA's office wanted to test and see, would you crack under pressure? His idea, and I think from his perspective, look, he didn't like the lawyers that he had. And I think in his perception, a lawyer who gets assigned on his case, is assigned by the court, is getting paid by the court, is probably working for the court, is not working for him.
They don't give a shit.
Those lawyers, in his mind, and there are very good legal aid lawyers and very good assigned lawyers, but from his perspective, I think it was, these people don't care about me, and, you know, they're going to give in. If the prosecutor just pushes them around a little bit, they're going to fold their cards.
Yeah, belly up.
They don't care.
Right.
They just want to go home.
Right. And I guess when he saw that I was willing to stand up to him and I wasn't cracking and I wasn't backing down, that's what he wanted in a lawyer.
Yeah.
And we got along great, you know. So